A thunderous crack split the air as her cabin door burst open, a gust of icy wind ushering in a crumpled figure. A man, half-frozen, his bearded face pale as death, collapsed onto her floor, blood seeping from a gash on his leg. Lila's heart leapt, fear and instinct warring within her. She could leave him to the storm, let nature claim another greedy settler. But his shallow breaths, the desperate flicker of life in his blue eyes, stirred her healer's oath. She dragged him to the fire, her hands trembling as she cut away his torn trousers, cleaned the wound, and packed it with herbs from her satchel. Hours blurred as she fought to save him, her whispers of Blackfeet prayers mingling with the storm's wail. By morning, the man stirred. His name, he rasped, was Samuel Carter, a 28-year-old settler fleeing a failed claim and a bear attack that left him staggering through the snow. Lila fed him broth, her gaze wary but softening as he thanked her with a quiet sincerity. Samuel was broad-shouldered, with a gentle voice that belied his rugged frame, and a story of loss, his family taken by fever 2 years prior. Lila, too, carried scars, her parents gone to smallpox, her tribe scattered by encroaching wagons. For 3 days, they shared the cabin, her tending his wounds, him offering clumsy help with firewood. A fragile trust bloomed, 2 broken souls finding solace in shared silence, but the storm's end brought trouble. A posse of settlers, led by a stern preacher named Amos Reed, tracked Samuel's trail to Lila's cabin. They burst in, rifles raised, eyes narrowing at the sight of a white man in a native woman's home. Unnatural. Amos bellowed, his judgment swift. A man and woman alone under one roof, sin demands remedy. Lila protested, her voice steady but her heart pounding. Samuel, still weak, tried to stand for her, but the settler's code was ironclad, to preserve decency, they must wed. Lila's world tilted, her freedom, her sanctuary, threatened by a forced bond to a stranger. Samuel's pleas for reason fell on deaf ears, and by dusk, under Amos's unyielding gaze, a hasty ceremony bound them, Lila's hands shaking as she stood beside a man she barely knew. The early days of their marriage were a battlefield of silence and strain. Lila resented the theft of her independence, her cabin now a cage. Samuel, torn between gratitude and guilt, struggled to bridge the chasm between them. He chopped wood, repaired the roof, trying to prove he wasn't her captor, but Lila's walls stayed high. One night, a fever gripped Samuel again, the bare wound festering. Lila's hands moved on instinct, boiling water, grinding yarrow, saving him once more. As he recovered, he whispered, "I don't want to own you, Lila. I want to know you." Her heart cracked open, just a sliver, their challenges mounted. The settlers shunned them, Samuel a traitor for marrying a native, Lila a target of whispers and threats. One evening, a rock crashed through their window, a note tied to it, "Leave or burn." Lila's fear flared, but so did her defiance. Samuel stood by her, his quiet strength a shield. They faced hunger, too, as winter deepened and game grew scarce. Together, they hunted, Lila teaching Samuel the Blackfeet ways, tracking deer, reading the wind. He listened, learned, and in return, shared tales of his childhood, his hopes for a quiet life. Slowly, resentment softened to partnership. The greatest test came when Amos and his men returned, demanding Samuel renounce Lila and join their righteous claim to her land. Samuel refused, his voice firm, "She's my wife, my home." The preacher's rage boiled, and that night, torches lit the dark as the posse advanced. Lila's pulse raced, run, or fight. She and Samuel barred the door, armed with her bow and his rifle. As flames licked the cabin's edge, they held their ground, Lila's arrows flying true, Samuel's shots a warning. A sudden snow squall doused the fire, scattering the attackers. Exhausted, they collapsed together, hands clasped, a bond forged in survival. Months turned to seasons. Lila and Samuel rebuilt, their cabin stronger, their hearts entwined. She taught him her language, her stories, he built her a table, carved her name into it with care. Love grew, quiet and deep, not from force but from choice. One spring dawn, as wildflowers bloomed, Lila looked at Samuel, his smile warm as the sun, and felt home in a way she thought lost forever. Their story spread, a whisper of hope in a divided land. Lila and Samuel faced a world that tried to tear them apart, prejudice, hunger, violence, but they stood firm, two souls who saved each other. For every American watching, let this be your light. Love can rise from the ashes of struggle, and courage can build a bridge where none seems possible. Together, they proved that even a forced beginning can bloom into a chosen forever. 5